chat. Can I record this? Absolutely. If you want to record it, I'm okay with it. Is that okay, Diana, with you?
Yes, I'm actually recording it right now
Okay,
so that
wonderful.
we can share that, but I forgot about having it recorded, so I literally just started it.
Okay, wonderful. And everybody can see my full screen in the PowerPoint, correct? Diana? Yeah,
Yes, I can see your
the full
screen.
screen?
Yeah.
Okay, good. It's because I have like little notes and I have two screens, so I'm like, oh my goodness, it's too much technology for me today. Okay, anyways.
I mean, I can see your notes and the next slide on the screen here.
Okay, let me see if I can do the opposite. I don't know. I don't, here, wait, let me see. I don't know how to work this technology.
It's okay. I think the way you had it worked fine.
Was fine,
Yeah.
okay. Wait, let's see, resume slideshow. Um, shoot, and we could all see again or no? Where are we? Hold on, let me stop and redo it. Ah, okay, here we go. Share. Hold on. Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. So share my screen, my PowerPoint. Okay, let's see. All right, wonderful. And then we'll do this. Come on, slideshow. Okay. No. Nope, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. Ah. Okay, we're just gonna leave it like this because I don't know how to handle this two screen stuff. Anyways, so let's start off with so a resume. So what is the purpose of a resume? Is what I like to ask my students. So when we're thinking of a resume, I want everybody to start thinking about this is going to be the first impression an employer is going to have of you. This is also going to be your marketing tool. So you're going to be marketing yourself. So before anybody gets to see who you are and the great personality and what do you bring to the table, they're going to see your resume. So with your resume, we want to make sure that, you know, it has all of your information, your contact information. It shows the employer. It features your education. It features some of your current past work experience, volunteer work, some of those leadership roles that you may have on campus. So we want to make sure that we're highlighting all of the great things about you as it relates to employment and to your experience. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the different components of a resume. And so we're going to focus on, you know, your contact information. And this is kind of also how you're going to lay out your resume. So we're going to talk about your contact information. We're going to talk about your education and how do you lay out that information as well, your work experience, how to enhance some of those bullet points that you are going to describe. If you have received any honors or awards, I'm also going to provide everybody with an example at the end so that you visually could see what a resume would look like. If you are part of any activities, extracurricular, you want to also make sure you're adding those to your resume. And at the end, we'll talk about some skills and more on the hard side, hard skills that you want to highlight on your resume and that would be important to highlight on your resume. So let's start with your contact information. So as you are putting your contact information, that's going to be the first thing the employer sees. I always tell students it's going to be your name, and on here I have a little example. It's going to be your first and last name. Please don't put any nicknames on there, just your first and last name. Your address, your contact information, so phone number and email. All right. You also, for those of you out there that might be, you know, graphic designers or that are doing photography, fashion design, all of my artsy students, if you have a web page where you actually have your portfolio, this is also the place where you would add that website. All right, so it's going to be right on the top of your resume. So we're going to first have your name, your contact information, and then, I'm sorry, your address and then your contact information. Now for your email, I have two suggestions. My first one is going to be for your email, use your Dominican email moving forward to apply for jobs. If you do have a professional email address, you know, that you've created, you could also use it as well, but just pick one or the other because you want to make sure that as you're applying, you're consistent, because if anybody replies that they want to do an interview, if anyone sends you a link for, what is it called? One of the online interviews, you want to be able to see it and that you don't miss out on it. I actually have had students in the past who were using just multiple emails and just didn't check the email where they were applying. They just didn't check and they missed out on their entire interview by like 2 weeks. So whatever email you use, one, make sure that it's an appropriate email. So for example, by appropriate, I always say just put your name, first and last name, and at Yahoo, at Gmail, whatever, source you would like to use. If, an inappropriate email would be like, for example, I love my daughter. Yes, everybody knows I love my daughter, but nobody else needs to know or have that as an email address. So absolutely, proper email address to use is just first and last name. My name is very common, Maria Gutierrez, so I had to use a couple of weird combinations until I was able to find an email that was not used. And that's the one. I personally don't use my school email. I just created one, and anytime I'm applying for jobs, I know that I have to look at that inbox to just double check if anybody has replied. Any questions so far? And just give me a little thumbs up if you have any questions so that I know you're following. Okay, I see. Okay, perfect. Wonderful. Another thing that you could add as an example right here, you can also add your LinkedIn profile, and that is also an option. If this person wants to search, they'll probably just type in your first and last name, and then they'll probably be able to search it also on LinkedIn. If you just want to make it easier for the employer, and you have a really good LinkedIn profile with some letters of recommendation, little like recommendations, I would absolutely add it to your resume just at the top. Now, I do want to give you some options for your home address. So as you're applying for jobs, one of the things I also suggest students, if you are, in Chicago, but you live in New York and you're going to be moving into New York, but you're starting to apply now for job openings, just don't put your address. You don't want to confuse the employer. You could completely leave that part out. Also, another reason that you might want to leave your home address out is if you are currently living in the suburbs, but you are you're willing to relocate to Chicago, or you're applying for a city job, most likely they need you to live in the city. But the reason I tell you to leave it out and still apply is because they will give you about a 6-month period for you to relocate. So, if they look at your resume and they see that you might not be from the city for the city job, they might not call you. So if you completely remove your address, you're most likely going to get a hit on that resume if they liked your resume. So those are a couple of reasons why to leave your home address out. All they're really looking for, to be quite honest, is where can they contact you? So a phone number and an email. So just so everybody knows. Any questions so far? We're good? Just a little thumbs up. I think we're good. Okay, yes. All right, perfect. Next on your resume is going to be your education that you want to highlight. So make sure you are giving, the full name of the school. Now, you want to give the degree that you are receiving. If you are receiving any additional certifications, you want to add that. And then you also want to add your major. So your degree would be a bachelor's of arts, a bachelor's of science, and then your major may be finance or chemistry. So make sure that you also are very clear about that to the employer. You could add your expected graduation month and year. If that were to change, we could always, make those changes. If you have a GPA that is at least a 3.0 solid or higher, I would absolutely add it to your resume, because, that also says that you're a great student. If you don't have that 3.0, don't worry about it. Just completely leave the GPA out of your education information. A couple of things that you could include are going to be courses that you are taking that are related to your position. You could add certifications, any awards or honors that you have received, and you could add it right underneath your education or you could create another little section instead of saying education that says awards, that says coursework. But these are some additional things that you could add in your resume. Now, I do want to make sure that I note for my freshmen out there, my freshmen and sophomore, the way you're going to lay out your information, and I have an example right here. You're going to put Dominican first because everything needs to be in chronological order from most recent. And then I want you actually to keep that high school on there. So if you're a freshman or sophomore listening, make sure you just still keep your high school on there. And then, you know, if you also have a good GPA in high school, go ahead and add that information. Now, for my juniors and seniors, remove that high school out of your resume. All right, and that is because at this point, you know, you are a junior and senior. Most likely, you have work experience, you have some volunteer experience. You might already be in those leadership roles, and that's what we're going to want to highlight for my juniors and seniors. What else I'm thinking? For my transfer students, I do have an example. Now, for my transfer students, I do want you to add your associate degree that you might have earned in your previous school. Again, Dominican is always going to be on the top because we want the most recent education on the top, and everything needs to be in chronological order. So on here, I also have an example. So you have, you know, everything again is Dominican, city and state, the type of bachelor's you're receiving. When is it that you're anticipating your graduation date? You know, you could have your GPA, and then you're going to add your, what is it called? Your associate degree. Now, I also have some transfer students, or I've had in the past, that might have not completed an associate degree. They just actually took some classes at a community college, and then they transferred everything out, even without the associate degree. If that is what happened, it's going to be up to you if you want to add that information. Now, a reason why to keep that information on there is going to be if you had, if you were active at the community college, you know, and were part of clubs or organizations or even sports, then I would probably add it because we're going to probably continue to work with that information. But if you really weren't active, you were just taking classes, you know, you didn't get a degree, I would honestly just remove it and just keep Dominican. Does that make sense for everybody? Just little thumbs up, little icons. I know, since I can't see you all, I'm so sorry, but this is as much. Yes, okay, good. I see some thumbs up. Okay, wonderful. Now, let's talk about what's going to be next on your resume. So for some of you, you know, you might have work experience, you might have volunteer experience, or you might have internship experience. Now, if you have internship experience and work experience, the information is going to be laid out just the same way for both. However, I want you to start with your internship experience first as your title, and then work experience next, and then volunteer experience. If you only have work experience, that's fine. We'll add work experience on there. If you have work experience and volunteer experience, we're going to add those first work experience and then your volunteer experience. However, the information is going to be laid out just the same. We want everything to be in chronological order. So we want the most recent job that you've had to be on the top, and then you're going to continue. Now, with the information and the way you want to lay it out is we want the company name, again, city and state, and then I want to know what was your position, right? So what was the name of your position? After that, we want to give also the employer that is reading this, a hiring manager, we want to give them information about, you know, the dates of employment. We don't need the exact date, but we do need at least the month and the year of when you started that position. And then we will need the month and the year of when you ended, or if it's still a current job, all you will say, all you will say is current or present. After that, and I'll give an example, after that, you're going to add some bullet points with major responsibilities in that position, as well as any possible accomplishments that you might have had during that position. So again, this, when it comes to work experience, your internship experience, and volunteer experience, it's going to be laid out just the way I explained it. Now, a couple of tips that I want everybody to start thinking about are going to be, make sure that you have 2 bullet points for your experiences. There may be some exceptions, I will say, that you may just have one bullet point, but for the most part, we want to make sure that you have at least 2 bullet points. Now, with those 2 bullet points, you want to add detail, right? Like you want to really let the employer know what you did. And I have a perfect example right here when we're trying to quantify that information and be more specific. So you don't just want to tell the employer that you served customers. You want to say, I served and processed 200 customer calls per day. Now I actually have a lot more information about what you are able to handle. What does your day look like? So always add those details, the number details. These are not going to be complete sentences. These are just going to be statements where you're going to start with an action verb. Make sure it's also in the correct tense. So if it's something you previously did, it's an ED. If it's something you're currently doing, you could even use ing if it's something you're currently doing. Any questions? And if there's no questions, just give me a little thumbs up so that I know we're all still listening. Okay, good. Wonderful. Something I want to mention, I've had students that are like, oh, I'm concerned about adding my employment because it was seasonal. So what I tell students is, okay, we could let the employer know on your resume. And for example here, let me move up to the example. So this is what I was talking about in terms of the way you want to lay out your information. So you're going to have the company name, the city and state, your title, and then you're going to go ahead and have the time frame. Now, if it is a seasonal opportunity, what you could do is, under right after, let me see, under your job title. So for example, human resources intern, you could do little parentheses and then you could say seasonal. So if it's such a short amount of time, the person's like, oh, okay, this was a seasonal opportunity. And then they know that, you just didn't decide to quit or leave in bad terms, right? So that also provides the hiring manager information about you. And this is the same way you're going to do your internship. You're going to do, your employment education, your employment experience as well. So one of them I have like an internship example, and then the other one I have just a sales example. I do want you to note that you see how these are complete statements. So I'm letting, the person know, like, assisted all members of the department with duties of financial transactions of approximately 2,500 per day. Now, you're giving the person, again, more detail about what you could handle. This, if it's $2,500, I could say, oh, this person is also, very trustworthy, right? Because they're managing money. So definitely make sure that you're not just having bullet points that have 2 words, 3 words, that they're full statements as you are describing your job duties. I will give you a tip. So one of the things to do as I often, especially for like the seasonal positions or administrative positions, I often get students like, well, I was just assisting at the front desk. And I tell them, okay, I want you to go back and look at your job description or Google a job description that is similar to what you're doing. And then look at those examples of what it is that they're looking for. And I bet you're going to have more bullet points on your resume. Exactly. That's what they do. And then all of a sudden they see all these bullet points like, oh, I do that, and I do that, and I do that. So oftentimes, you just think that, oh, it's just so basic what I'm doing, I'm really not doing much. But then when you start looking at bullet points of the same job that you have, you realize, oh, wow, I do way more than what I thought I did. For example, even myself, right? As I'm, I always revise my resume. And as I revise my resume, sometimes like, well, I just work with students, I do workshops. But then as I really start thinking of like, well, what else have I been part of? Oh, I've been part of hiring committees. I could add that to my resume. Even though it may not be on my job description, it's still something that I've been part of. So always just, take time to really, 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 dig deep about what is it that your responsibilities have been. With resumes, I want everybody to keep your original resume. So for those of you that have been working on your resume and are often editing to apply to jobs, So what you're pretty much should be doing is like having one resume that has everything on it. So all the positions you've had, all the leadership roles that you've been part of, any work experience, any volunteer experience. And then you're going to have a second resume or third or fourth that you're going to be customizing for the positions that you're going to be applying. Why? Because you're just going to start grabbing the things that are important and making sure everything is in chronological order and it makes sense to the employer and to you as you're reading it, right? So always make sure to have, your original resume. And then from there, you're always going to work out, depending on what you're applying for. Every 6 months, my recommendation is that every 6 months you are looking over your resume. And even if you're in the same position, like add a bullet point of something you might have done different, some different experience, if you've gone to any conferences, if you've done any presentations, go ahead and add that to your resume. And Anna, I like to write a little calendar, like reminder. And, I pick a day, like a weekend day that I know I'm going to be home. And I just, say like, don't forget to update your resume. So I actually have the Word Word on my phone, like the Word document app. And so, I upload my resume and, as I'm either watching TV, playing with my daughter, whatever the case may be, I'm like, okay, what else did I do? And I just add like one bullet point. Sometimes I add more, but make sure that every 6 months you're updating your resume and you're really thinking of like, what else am I doing? I also think that it's a really good way for you to start gauging whether, am I not growing? Should I ask for more responsibilities? Is this the place for me? I think that it also gives you a sense of, what else are you learning? Or, if you're not learning anything, can you ask for more responsibilities? Should you talk to your manager? But I think, it's really, really important that every 6 months you're doing something different or you're learning something different or being part of something within that organization. Any questions so far? No. Okay, we're good. Yes, thanks for the thumbs up, Natalie. Yes, Ashley, perfect. Okay, wonderful. So let's go ahead and move on. So I'm going to show everybody an example. So, this is an example for everyone. So we have our name on the top and also things to keep in mind, right? So the rule of thumb is you don't want your resume, like the actual contents of the resume, to be any larger than a 12 size font, and you don't want it to be any smaller than a 10 size font. Any larger makes it look really big and bold and like, I don't know, it's like too much. Any smaller may hurt an employer's eyes and they're probably going to be like, never mind, let me just keep going to the next resume, right? We want to make sure that your resume is aligned, just like this resume. So like all of, it looks really aligned. It looks like I can actually go right through it and I know where her education is. If you are part of any honor societies, any memberships for any of your majors, you could put a section for affiliation right here. You see, like this person decided instead of saying awards, they decided to say highlights, and they described that they have some of the awards, like the Dean Scholarship, the Success Scholarship. So those are things you want to add on your resume as well. Any leadership positions that you hold on campus, you want to highlight those at the beginning. So you always want, if we're starting with education, anything to do with your education is going to flow right behind it, like right underneath it. And then at the end, we're going to add that experience. And then at the very, 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 very bottom, we'll add some skills. And so, for example, I love the fact that like this resume is super creative. Like I just don't have, skills. I have key competencies. Oh, it makes me want to really read it, right? Because I'm like, what does she mean by these key competencies versus just having the word skills? So you can get very creative as you are, as you're titling each section. So like I said, again, affiliations, leadership. So this person was a member of different clubs and organizations on campus. Definitely add those under leadership. If you had an internship, that's probably going to be right on top. So this person has like 2 different experiences. They have a professional experience. And so they labeled some of the professional experiences on campus that they held. And then, they have additional experiences. So maybe something that is not as related to their major, but they still believe, that they have obtained different what is it called, different skills through this position. So you want to make sure to add it on your resume, right? As you can tell, everything is in chronological order from most recent, right, all the way on the top. And then they added, like I said again, key competencies or skills. Another thing that you could add to your resume, and I know like we're not going to see it last semester or this semester, but for example, if you did a study abroad, I would add that to your resume. I often have, what is it called? Project. It's capstones. So students that have capstone projects, you can add that on your resume, and you could, you know, label it capstone, the class name, and then the time frame. Oftentimes you're working on a project during your capstone, and then give me 2 bullet points of what that capstone looked like. What were your responsibilities within that project? That's also a really good one. Like I said, again, study abroad. With study abroad, I don't want to know that you went to Paris, right? And just didn't give me any information about what you learned. If you went to Paris and you did a study abroad, I am almost certain that you learned something. You had to either take a class, you know, you probably took some classes out there. So tell me about what that looked like and how does that relate to your major? So that's what you would lay out for study abroad. If you did community-based learning, absolutely. I want to also see that on your resume. Tell me what you did. Where did you do your community-based learning? You know, what did you learn? Did you have any responsibilities? So those are all going to be important things to add to your resume. If you are a freshman or sophomore, do not get discouraged because you see this resume that is super full. You know, just know that we can highlight some of the courses. Again, for those of you that might be freshmen and sophomores, we could add the course related. For those of you that may be juniors and seniors that might not have work experience, you know, or not as much, you know, let's add some of your coursework on there. So some of the classes that you've taken, you know, we'll add it right underneath after your education. So there's definitely a lot of ways and a lot of very creative ways that we can customize your resume. For those of you that already have a resume, or those of you that may not have a resume, a couple of tips. Do not use a template, please. There's a couple of reasons why, you know, both Kelly and I are very adamant to tell students, like, please don't use a template, just write it on a plain Word document. If you have any trouble aligning things, or you're like, oh, I'm on like page 2 of my resume and it should be 1 page, come to us. We will help you with aligning your resume. I think by far that's like one of our biggest expertise on how to make sure a resume stays on 1 page. Meet with us, bring us your resume, but definitely be detailed, right? Don't use a template for a couple of reasons. So the first one is oftentimes hiring managers receive, you know, 200, 300 resumes. Out of those 200 or 300 resumes, they might receive 50 resumes that look alike. Do you really think they're going to take the time to look at the resumes that look alike? They're probably going to dump them because they're going to say, you know what, this person took the easy way out. They just, you know, grabbed Word, opened a template, and just started to type over it. That's one reason. A second reason is, as you are, actually I think there's 3, sorry. The second reason is, as you are, you know, growing within your field or trying to add more information on your resume, sometimes those templates have anchors that do not allow you to add more information or make the information align. Or if you try to add the bullet point and everything is on a 12 font size, it will give you that bullet point on a 14 font size. So it's like really weird with the template. So, you know, it just becomes more of a hassle to fix a template than probably the time you're going to have. And then lastly, also a couple of, you know, hiring companies, they have specific softwares that they use to help them go through some of these resumes. For example, what they would say would be like, for this student, for example, they would say like, major in Spanish, right? And then, you know, it starts filtering all the resumes that have major in Spanish. What happens with the template is that because you have the template, it's not going to capture major in Spanish, right? So now you don't have an opportunity to be part of that group of people that their resume just got pulled because you have a template. So absolutely no templates, you know, just go ahead and type it out. I promise it's not too bad. It's you could always, like I said, come to us and we will be more than happy to help you align your resume. I mean, I really love it. It's probably one of my biggest like obsessions, like fixing resumes and making sure they fit into 1 page. For those students of you that might have already came to me, you know how much I get obsessed with like making sure it looks really aligned and pretty and appealing to the eye. So yes. Now, my next slide. Okay, so everybody, I don't know if, some of you have heard of Handshake, have not, but I do want to emphasize, you can post your resume on Handshake. Everybody at Dominican has an account already, so you don't even have to create an account. All you have to do is, if you go to Handshake, it's on our website. All you do is put your email address and the same password you're using for everything at Dominican, and it's going to log you on. You do have to activate the account, but I would definitely recommend that everybody posts their resume on Handshake once it's gotten approved by either Kelly or myself. On there, you are going to have job opportunities. We just had a virtual job fair on there as well. There's virtual employer visits. There are different workshops, anything going on with employment opportunities and internship opportunities, you will find on there. You could build out your profile, almost similar to LinkedIn as well. But the neat thing about Handshake, and I love emphasizing this, is that if an employer took the time to post on Handshake, it most likely means that they want to see a Dominican student, right? So, definitely become familiar with the site. Do not wait till you're a junior or senior looking for that internship or job opportunity. Possibly, just start becoming familiar with the site. Any questions on Handshake? No. Okay, we're good. Perfect, Ashley. Everybody else is good? Yes, I'm going to assume. Okay, good. I see more thumbs up. Okay, wonderful. Now, so if you need help, right? How do you reach out to us? How do you make an appointment? So you can make an appointment just by emailing careers@dom.edu. That's where you would find us. Just say, hey, my name is so and so. I would like to make an appointment for a resume revision or cover letter, or I want to talk. I want to talk about maybe some possible internship opportunities, or how do I start? So what our peer leaders are going to do, our student workers, they will schedule you with myself or with Kelly, and then we could go over this information as well. Or look over your resume, whatever you may need. Now, for those of you that are familiar with our Instagram Live, so please follow us at DU Careers. We do have a Thursday live session that we do. It is at 2:30. There are some sessions that we haven't done it, like we're promoting another, if we're helping promote another event, we won't have it if it's on the same day, just to make sure that, students attend. But the really neat thing about our Instagram Live is we bring employers to talk about the different opportunities that they might have within the company. You have a chance to ask questions. They don't know who you are, right? Because they only see your name. So if you may be someone that's like, oh, I'm shy, I don't know if I want them to know me, all you have to do is, add your question on there. I could read it out and we could get it answered. So in our Thursday live, we have employers. We've actually had our graduate recruiter from Dominican also talk about graduate schools. We talk about resume, cover letters. So we have quite a few different topics that we covered throughout the semester, and we've been doing this since the summer. So follow us. We do put our 30-minute sessions on our feed. So if you miss any of them, you could always look back. I try to put as much information on there. There are a couple of like internship opportunities on there, employment opportunities with a couple of different companies. I also go ahead and post job opportunities on the stories. And then I have a highlight of just all the job opportunities. You can always look through there. And if you have any question about any of them, message us, email us, and I'll be more than happy to go over that information. Okay, let's see here. Any questions from anyone? Anything that, you just need a little bit more clarification on? Any suggestions? I definitely want to open the last, we have like 20 minutes, I guess. Oh my goodness. For for some questions if anybody has them. No? Just by show of hand, how many of you already have a resume? Okay. We have 2. Okay, 3. Wonderful. So those of you, that do have a resume, just take a look at some of the advice I gave out. If you want me to look over your resume and say, hey, look, I might not be applying for anything, but can you just give me some feedback? I will be more than happy to provide the feedback. If you have some of the don'ts that I talked about, make sure you're editing and changing those. Now, for those of you that don't have a resume, this is a wonderful, definitely start now. Don't wait till the end. You could give me a skeleton of a resume if you would like, and I'll be more than happy to look it over and start providing you some feedback. I think the hardest part when we are creating your resumes, it's going to be your bullet points. Because you're like, am I giving enough information? Am I not giving enough information? So definitely just be as detailed as possible. We could tweak those around as we do appointments or you let us see your resume. Anything else that I might have missed? Any suggestions? Anything else, Diana, that you might want to know, want me to talk about?
I do have one question.
Yes.
So, what can be done when you want to be detailed, but don't want to go over that one page kind of, how would you say that one page restriction for your resume?
Yes. So one of the biggest things is opening up your margins, right? So normally if you start a Word document, it's going to give you smaller margins. So I always say go to the margins and then do a 0.5 all around. That's one way to be able to add more information. Also, like playing around with the font sizes. For example, by that I mean your titles for each section could be an 11 just to make it stand out a little bit. And then all the rest of the information could be a 10 size font, which is the smallest we could go, right? I think that's probably one of my favorites, like just kind of playing around with the fonts. You don't want to overdo it. So for example, you don't want your title to be an 11 and then like your job information to be at 11 and a half, and then the rest like a 9.5 or 10, right? Like, no, we want, if we're gonna do 2 size fonts, we're gonna do the titles 1 size, and then everything else in terms of like the body in between, it's gonna be like a 10 size font. So playing around with that font size is always helpful. To be quite honest, I feel that you could, as you saw that one resume, like you really could fit a lot in one page. I just think sometimes it's even about organizing. So for example, here, and I'm gonna just pull up the, what is it called? I'm gonna pull up really quick, the PowerPoint again. Where did it go? Here we go. Oh no. Where did my PowerPoint go? I'm such a visual person that I feel that if I could visually show you, it makes more sense than if I talk about it. So let me look for the quickly for the slide that has, okay. Now I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so for example, for this slide right here, another way to reduce some space could even be having, to make sure that everything fits on one page, is having Jamaican University, River Forest, Illinois, and then I would probably just do a little space in between or a little dash. And then I would put the actual position on here and then your date as well. So everything is just gonna go on one line. You just have to use little separators, whether it's a little dot, whether it's a little dash, a little slash, but you wanna make sure that, the person could see where is the information being separated. That's also another way to be able to make everything fit on one page. But as you can see, this is actually a pretty full resume. But if this student would want to add more information, let's say that they might have done an internship, what I would probably recommend would be, making all of her information from, what is it called? Like Dominican, the company name and the title, I would suggest to put everything on one little line. So yes, let me see. I think I have another question. Okay, no. Anything else? Did that answer my question, Diana?
Yes, it did, Maria.
Yes. So oftentimes it's honestly just about being creative when it comes to, you know, how we align things, how we add that information, to be able to add it, to be able to have it all on one page. Now, I will say I have had a few exceptions of students that have had 2 full pages as undergraduate students. And those normally are students that have done a lot of research, have been to presentations, what is it, different presentations, different conferences. I think I will say within the last 2 years that I've been here, I could remember exactly who those 2 students are, but I've had 2 students that we've actually had a whole 2 full pages of just educational experience. And it's pretty impressive. So there are some exceptions, but for the most part, as an undergraduate student, you will have a 1-page resume. Anybody else has any questions for me? Would you like for me to go over anything? I'm so sad I can't see you all. I love seeing students.
Well, if no one has any questions, you have Maria's contact information. It's just remind me, DU careers,
Yeah, it's careers@dom.edu.
at
And I do want to also mention, if you are a DACA or undocumented student, you know, we also support you. I often get that question like, you know, are there opportunities for me? Yes, absolutely. There are internship opportunities for you as well. Just come talk to us, you know, so that we know what is it that you're looking for, as well as, so we could start looking for those opportunities in the type of field that you are looking for. So, you know, don't wait till the last minute. Even if, you know, you are not a DACA or undocumented student, like never wait till the last minute to come and say, hey, I'm looking for an internship. It normally takes about, honestly, a semester before for you to be able to be ready and apply for that internship opportunity. So, you know, just get on it earlier, the better. So yes, as Diana said, I guess if you don't now have any questions, or if you do, you know, feel free to email for appointments. And if you actually have, and I'm going to add it on here, if you actually just have any other questions that are not regarding, you know, scheduling an appointment, you could, I'm going to give everybody my email, and I put it on the little chat. So that's my email here. So if you do need to make an appointment, go through the careers@dom.edu. But if you have any questions about our workshop, or want to meet with me directly, you know, you could also just email me as well.
All right, thank you, Maria. If anyone has any questions, email her. This session has been recorded, so I'm gonna see if I can send this out to the students that attended. If it's too big to attach in an email, I might just have it as a link and I'll send the link out as well. So thank you, Maria, and I hope everyone had some important information that they were able to learn, or that they remembered that maybe they knew before. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.